Thanks for listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
This is Pharmacy Crossroads with your host, community pharmacy business veteran, the road trip guy, Bruce Nealand. Community pharmacy is at a crossroads. Pharmacy owners across the country are evolving their pharmacy businesses and making a bigger impact on their communities. Bruce talks with the most innovative community pharmacy owners, pharmacy industry experts, and people who are passionate about the business of pharmacy and its impact on community healthcare. Pharmacy Crossroads is a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. And now, here's our host, Bruce Nealand.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Bruce Nealand with another episode of Pharmacy Crossroads. Today, I have two longtime friends and industry icons to share their wisdom and insights with us, and I can't wait to hear what they have to say. I'll do their names and their titles and then ask them to chat a little bit more about what their companies are doing. But first, I have Dave Falk, who's the president of Sav Mor Pharmacies, a small chain of pharmacies in central Illinois, and Nicolle McClure, who's the president of GRx Marketing. And Dave happens to be a client of hers. So, Dave, tell us a little bit about Sav Mor Pharmacies. What's it like out there in central Illinois?
We have 15 mostly rural community pharmacies in central and downstate Illinois. We most of our stores have been in business in excess of 40 years. The communities we serve are population base of 1,000 to mostly 5,000. So in a lot of cases, we're the only pharmacy in the community, and in some cases, we're the only pharmacy in the county. So you wouldn't think that marketing would be a big thing for us, but we've realized after doing business with GRx that it is.
Well, I'm sure Nicolle loves to hear that. Nicolle, yeah. Who the heck is GRx Marketing?
Hi, Bruce. Thanks for having me on the show. So GRx Marketing, we're a full-service marketing company. We've been around since 2010. We can pretty much help you with anything and everything to market your pharmacy, from digital marketing to strategic planning, community outreach, and everything in between.
Well, and Dave, the other thing I'll throw in is I have visited two of your pharmacies on my Route 66 trip. One, I think, was your headquarters pharmacy that was reasonably new. It was a reasonably new build out. And then the other one in Verdon, is that how you say the town? That's yes, literally right on Route 66. So you've got a little bit of Americana history operating in your locations out there. So with such well-established pharmacies and small communities, you hinted at it. Why do you think you need to market, and how did Nicolle rope you into doing this?
Well, first of all, we're not marketing experts. You know, we are we're pharmacies and customer service experts, and you know, our extent of marketing is when the local radio station or the local newspaper station would call us and say, "Hey, last year you sponsored the fireworks, you know, for the 4th of July. Would you like to do it again?" "Oh yeah, sure. How much was that?" "Oh, it was X dollars." And well, what kind of ad do you want to run?" "Well, what did we do last year?" Yeah, let's do that again. So inefficient, lame at best, and just not a good way to spend marketing dollars.
Well, it reminds me of a conversation I had with Bill Osborne about 20 years ago when he shared the same thing. He had a couple pharmacies in a small town in Oklahoma. And, he said every Friday he'd get the phone call from the newspaper saying, "What ad do you want to run this month or this week?" And, he'd spend 15 minutes and try to pull together an ad, and it was a waste of time. And finally, he hired an agency who, figuring out what kind of ad to run, was high on their priority list. And he says it was money well spent. So, Nicolle, tell me, what kinds of marketing programs? You hinted at it, but run through a little menu of the kinds of things that an independent pharmacy would benefit from doing.
Yeah, for sure. So just to kind of piggyback off what Dave said, pharmacists in general just kind of struggle with marketing because they don't know what to do or how often to do it or if it's working, that sort of thing. So that's where we come in. And like I mentioned before, we can help in a variety of ways. So in-store materials, which could be anything and everything from bag stuffers, shelf talkers for OTC items, flyers to hand out to your patients, helping with community outreach. So connecting with local businesses to host an on-site flu clinic or establish relationships with local healthcare facilities, assisted living facilities. And then from there, helping on the digital marketing side. So social media management, website design, kind of all of that aspect. And then finally, just helping put that kind of all together because marketing can feel overwhelming, especially if you're using multiple aspects to get your name out there. And so we put together a nice plan to help the pharmacy owner stay on track and see what's working and what isn't.
Well, I'm going to jump in with a couple of my personal strongly held opinions. And, you know, you went through a list of 5 or 6 things that are important to do. And the piece that gets left off that checklist is, what do you say on a flyer? How do you make it look? What do you post on Facebook? And how do you support it with graphics? And, you know, the example that I've used in some of my CE sessions is, you know, and this is 30, 40 years ago when I was starting my career, but, you know, the company told you that when you called on a pharmacy, you needed to wear a sports coat or a suit and tie. And, you know, the classic thing is a blue blazer and a light blue shirt and a color coordinated tie and some beige pants. And, you know, that's adequate. But if you just tell somebody you need to wear a sports coat and a tie, you can get somebody who's going in a multicolored sports coat and some grotesque colored pants. And, you know, and he's following all the rules. He's wearing a sports coat and a tie, but it's not presenting the image. It's not carefully thought out. It doesn't speak success. And words and headlines are important, and figuring out how to write copy and all that kind of stuff is a skill that I know most pharmacists don't have. And you might spend, you know, $100 on a print job with a speedy print and print some handbills, or you can spend $250 with an agency and get 10 times the results because the product just looks better. So enough of my editorializing, but what you say and how you say it is the critical skill. So
For
Dave, we are at the tail end, I hope, of the DIR apocalypse. It's been a tough year. Have you cut back on your marketing in order to meet expenses, or have you kept plowing through?
No, and I this is one of the things that we've learned from doing business with GRx Marketing is, you know, an inefficient, ineffective dollar spent on marketing and advertising is money out the window. You're not going to get any return for it. But we actually, since we've been with GRx here, what, Nicolle, a little over 3 years?
Yeah.
Close to that. And we actually, and not intentionally, it's just has happened, have spent less on marketing dollars, advertising dollars than what we did prior to, because we felt before we had to spend more because we weren't getting the results with the dollars that we were spending. So our total spend overall is less today than what it was prior to doing business with GRx, because we feel our dollars now are effective and getting a better return. And our social media, you know, one of the things about social media, for the most part, it's free. But if it's done ineffectively, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time and whatever money you do spend on it. And our marketing person at GRx is Erica, and she's full of ideas. And one of the benefits that we think that we get from GRx is we don't just have Erica. We have the whole team there. That, you know, if she's stumped about something or she needs some push, she goes to the rest of their team and then comes back to us. We have regular monthly calls, and I'll be straight up honest with you that when we first started that, I was like, oh my gosh, we got to have a marketing call. No, oh God, oh my gosh, I don't ever know what to say. I don't know anything about marketing, but now they're effective, 20 or 30-minute calls, and it's packed full of ideas. And we have seen better results because of the consistency and the effectiveness of the messages that we're sending. And our Facebook, for example, for social media, for each store has a different page, but the followers and the likes and all that jazz, I mean, it's grown exponentially since we started with GRx because it's consistent. Before, I would look at one of our stores' Facebook pages. The last post was 4 months ago. Now I look at it, it was several days ago. So you have to be consistent. And these are things that we failed at on our own because we didn't realize the importance of it because we just don't do marketing. That's not our thing. But now that we see that, it comes around, and that boosts your sales. We've seen some nice growth in certain areas, things that we promote, like our meds and our immunizations, not just flu shots, but like a couple of years ago, Erica says our employees wearing buttons that say, "Have you gotten your flu shot?" And I'm like, ding, 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 boy, that's so simple, but we would have never thought about that. A button's cheap, So now all of our staff has buttons that they wear in flu season, and our flu shots have tripled.
Wow. So, Nicolle, this isn't the first time you've worked with pharmacies when there's kind of a down market. I think, the economy in general is great, but with the PBM issues, pharmacies not. There's got to be some stats, some advice on the importance of marketing during a downturn. You got some stuff at your fingertips you can share with us about how and why it's important to keep plowing through when things are tough?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest things is your competitors. So chains, mail order pharmacies, whoever, they're still marketing. Even though Walgreens, CVS are closing pharmacies, they still are out there with their messaging. So by you just stopping, you're losing any sort of market share that you may have gained prior to quitting your marketing. And yeah, on average, sales will fall about 16% after the first year of stopping marketing. And I think that's even higher for small businesses because they are just not out there as much. So while you may save some dollars in the short term, you're essentially hurting your business long term because people will just forget about you. I mean, think about how many messages you see throughout the day, thousands that we're getting inundated with. And so if you are no longer in that mix, when somebody has a healthcare need, needs a flu shot, is sick, acquires a new disease, you are not going to be top of mind because you've stopped marketing. And with that, you just fall out of people's mind. Word of mouth is not going to be as effective anymore because people aren't seeing you. They're not thinking to tell their friends or family about you. And finally, it's just missed opportunities. So I know a lot of pharmacies out there right now are doing some new great things, such as semaglutide compounding, vitamins and supplements and things like that. But if you're not telling anybody about it, then what's the point? Nobody's going to know that you're offering these new great services. So those are just a couple things. Once you're gone for 6 months to a year, you've now got to gain back that market share that you lost before you can even forge ahead and gain new business.
Yeah, two statistics or two comments. The Boehringer Ingelheim company for several years in the late teens and early 20s, produced a customer satisfaction survey. This was a serious survey. It was 40,000 people that they interviewed with 50 questions. And the one thing that jumped out me at the most from that survey is 52% of the people have prescriptions currently on file and fillable at 2 or more pharmacies. That means half of your customers are also a customer someplace else. Now, my suspicion is, without being able to get into the meat of that a bunch of those prescriptions are antibiotic prescriptions or pain meds that somebody picked up at Walgreens on Sunday night when you were closed, and not necessarily refillable, but they've got a relationship with another pharmacy. The other matrix that I work through is this evaluating the effectiveness of your marketing, which is very tough to do. But the first metric, the most important, the highest payoff on your marketing, is to stop losing customers. And they've got a prescription filled someplace else. They convenient to go there. You've got to figure out a way to let people know that you're there, that you're doing stuff, because CVS and Walgreens and all the grocery stores are out to get your customers. So that's one of the classic reasons why I think it's important to stay in the game. You don't know who you didn't lose because you were marketing. It's a tough one to measure.
Right.
So we've
Bruce,
mentioned, please, Dave, go ahead.
I want to add to the part of cutting your marketing budget. We've been down that road before, and when you're spending dollars that are inefficient and ineffective, I don't really think you're going to lose anything by doing that. But I want to make the emphasis on when you spend dollars that are on advertising and marketing that are effective, you don't have to spend as much as what you're spending when it's ineffective. It's a fraction. And we've been down that road where things weren't working. We were just repeating the same things over and over. And it's the old thing, you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. And when we were doing it on our own, our results were pretty lackluster. So if you're spending the dollars in the right area and with the right companies that are helping you, then I think you don't have to worry about cutting your marketing budgets, because you are getting a good bang for your buck.
Nicolle, you had a comment on that? If
No,
not,
I was
question.
going to add to that. When we're talking to our clients, our pharmacy owners out there, we position marketing the same way as inventory. It should just be an investment for your pharmacy, not something that is flighting that you just use when you feel like you need it. Because we do have some pharmacies that will reach out, and they've had a competitor close or an opportunity open up in the market, but they haven't done any other marketing for a year or two. And so it's too late by then, because people aren't familiar with the name in the community because they haven't done anything. So it's much more challenging to market in those opportunities if the pharmacy would have just been consistently marketing. And it doesn't need to be a lot. I mean, I think just keeping present on Facebook or, doing a couple community events throughout the year, very cost-effective marketing tactics that you can use and still have a presence.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how the market has changed, because quite frankly, the traditional idea of marketing to fill more prescriptions is not the main goal anymore, I don't think. So what kind of target marketing are you able to do? And Dave, I guess you've mentioned immunizations, but my feeling is people don't know or understand MedSync. They don't understand compliance packaging. They don't understand drug nutrient depletion. They don't understand, flu tests or, strep throat tests. all these new services, nobody gets up in the morning and says, I want to go get an MTM. So what are you, is there some segment of the market that you're trying to focus on? And has Nicolle coached you on any of that? Is there new marketing messages?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, and I want to touch on, new programs are definitely something you need to promote. But like Nicolle said, if you don't have a message out there that's consistent, have your store name out there in the community, it's a mountain hill climb to be able to introduce not just your store at the same time, but a new program. But with your name out there all the time, every day, every week, all year long, more customers are familiar with your name. It's easier then to promote a new program. But where we've seen the biggest success is reiterating our existing programs. What independent pharmacy in the country does not deliver prescriptions? I know thousands of pharmacy owners, and I can't tell you one that doesn't deliver prescriptions. We do a lot. We spend a lot on delivery cars, and we never had a vinyl wrapped delivery car. And Erica at GRx says, you guys need to vinyl wrap that. I'm like, wow, man, that's expensive. She was like, it's a free rolling billboard. And since we started doing that, we've heard from more customers, oh, I saw your delivery car, 2 towns over or whatever, and I mean, it's just, and when it's sitting out in front of the store on the highway, it's a constant billboard. And those things, it's a one-time expense to do that. Unless somebody crashes the delivery car, then you have to redo it. But our existing programs like our MedSync, our immunizations, not just flu shots, but across the board, constantly reminding people in the community of what we're doing. That's what drives those things. We started our MedSync program many years ago, and we struggled to get it off the ground. And our staff did a great job at telling people, but it was a situation where the pharmacist or pharmacy technician was trying to sell the program to the customer. And one, nobody wants to be that salesman, and two, the customer they feel like they're going to have to pay for something. So GRx helped us put it in a way that, look, this is a convenience for you. It's also a convenience for us because it helps us with our inventory and staffing and things like that. But our MedSync, because of our promotions that GRx has done for us, is huge compared to what it was, 3 or 4 years ago. So not just the new programs, but existing programs need to be promoted regularly.
I appreciate that. Nicolle, you got anything to add?
I'll just throw out a stat of marketing message somebody has to see 8 to 13 times before they take action. So, and that's the same consistent message. So just back to Dave's point of having to do it over and over again to break through that clutter. Because again, think about how many messages you see throughout the day on your phone, when you're working, driving in your car, radio, Pandora, whatever you're listening to. We're just constantly inundated. So that's where it's important to just have that consistency out there, whether it's, in-store, social media, whatever it is. And sometimes I feel like pharmacy owners think they have to market every single service that they offer. Because they want everybody to know everything about them. But we typically recommend focusing on 1 to 2 things, either for a month, a quarter, and really hone in on that messaging so you're hitting your target audience multiple times.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my mouth for a minute, and I'm a salesman, so I get to do that. But one of the things that I want you to talk about, Nicolle, is the onboarding process and how you dig in to catch the brand, the spirit, the essence of a pharmacy, because every pharmacy doesn't have the same graphics, the same look, the same headlines. You customize that stuff for them and the market they approach. But at the same time, I believe one of the values that an organization like yours brings is benchmarking. You get to see what ads are working for Fred and Harry and Mary and whatever, and transfer that learning experience to the benefit of Dave. How do you mesh those two challenges, individualize but yet benefit from what others have done?
Yeah, so for sure. So when a new client signs on with us, we have a discovery call with them, and it's a very in-depth call. It's probably about 45 minutes to an hour, and it's really diving into, what is their branding? What are their challenges? What marketing have they tried that's worked, that hasn't worked? What do they want to promote? What's their focus over the next year? Is there any misconceptions that we need to overcome in their community? Maybe they've had some bad Google reviews, staffing changes, things like that we need to address. So really just listening in to kind of what they want to focus on. And then from there, we put together a marketing plan for them based on their goals. So everything we do, it's not a cookie cutter approach. It's very hands-on, as Dave alluded to. You're assigned a marketing specialist to work with, and they really get to know you and what you like and what you don't like. And from there, it's putting the marketing materials together. So that person is designing your stuff, creating the materials, and then executing on your behalf. So back to pharmacy owners and their team not having time to do everything. We try to do as much as we can for you. So that could be stuff in envelopes and sending out letters for the clinic business or to lost patients. And then we try to provide as much reporting as we can to show those results. So, if we run anything on Facebook or just general social media insights, sending those each month. Email results. So how many patients opened an email that you sent out? Asking to try to, pull reports from a dispensing system. So if you sent out a lost patient mailing, how many of those patients came back after 3 months? So, and from there, it's just that strategic partnership. So having those monthly calls, those constant check-ins, just to make sure, we're staying on track with the pharmacy's overall goals.
So Dave, you've hinted at a couple things that they've worked with you on, the flu shot buttons and the wrapping the car. Is there another marketing initiative that you've tried here lately that you think is something other owners ought to be aware of?
Actually, yes. And I'm no tech guy, but geofencing. Erica brought this up to us and several months ago, and we have in the largest community that we're in. There are several other pharmacies. There are chain pharmacies, and we're the oldest pharmacy in town, but we don't really have the convenient location. But we wanted to try to target and pull some business away from some of those chains. And she presented the geofencing. I'm like, okay, what is this? So she described it to me, and I'm like, okay, I can halfway wrap my head around that. But and so we put the money towards it, and she set it all up, and the report that comes with this, 30 days later is amazing. And there's a ton of detail in this report that you can see how many people clicked on that ad, how many people followed through. I mean, it's just amazing. And the result was astounding. And it's great for the store because it's hitting those people that are going to those chain stores instead of coming to us. So I think it's put it back, like I said earlier, that, reiterating to the customer, we're still here. I find this myself, seeing these kind of things myself all the time. I'll see an advertising or a social media ad on a company that I may do business with personally. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that they even did that. But I've been getting this over here. I'd rather get it from these guys. So, it's just, it's those little things like that kind of stand out that we would have never known how to do that on our own. Without teaming with GRx. So that tech-wise, that's probably one of the big things recently that we've seen has helped.
That's great. So we need to wrap up here. Nicolle, one last word?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity today, and keep marketing on the forefront for your pharmacy, and yeah, I know you'll see great results.
Dave, you're the premier guest here.
I think one of the big takeaways here in doing business with a company like GRx is the ideas. And I say that with capital letters. I mean, that is because that's where we struggled prior, is having new ideas, fresh ideas to how to market each one of our pharmacies. And this is probably the biggest thing that I can, and those that's in the fees that you pay and all. So that's probably the biggest takeaway that I could say is the new and fresh ideas that continually come.
Well, again, thanks to both of you. I'm going to close with one short, again, personal experience. But, you talk about getting buttons or simple things that you just don't get around to doing. And I think one of the biggest problems with pharmacists is when they talk to an agency, they say, well, I can do that, or I could do that, or that's not all that hard. I could do that. And it's particularly true with social media. But the real question is, can you do it well? And will you do it? And the discipline that comes from an agency that's their job, they're working hard to keep your business. And, some person who you have in your store who's supposed to do social media marketing, probably not all that good. And then she may be the person who you need to pull to work the bench or make a delivery because there's some urgent issue that arrived. And so you don't get it done. And I'm on record as saying every pharmacy needs to have a lawyer, every pharmacy needs to have an accountant, and every pharmacy needs to have a marketing agency. So that's my 2 cents. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this edition of Pharmacy Crossroads. Thank my guests again and tell them I hope to see them at some show sometime soon, and say that's it for Pharmacy Crossroads, where our goal is to help every pharmacy do more and be better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Pharmacy Crossroads. If you're interested in talking with Bruce, please contact the show. Visit pharmacycrossroads.com. We look forward to hearing from you.